It's not often you see a factory car in a serious performance DVD, but with BMW one of the few companies offering factory tuner kits, we decided to take a look at the 05 version of the John Cooper Works kit for the Mini. We headed straight for the BMW factory workshop in Melbourne, where all the goodies are kept, and hooked up with mechanic David Ortolan to take us through the conversion. With the kit laid out, we were surprised how easy this little car was to work on. Off with the rocker cover, intercooler, fuel rail, airbox, plenum chamber, supercharger and cylinder head.
Disassembly? Yeah, it's much better than the previous kit. You get the new airbox, the fuel injectors and a slightly more modified supercharger. We've got a full stainless steel exhaust, modified cylinder head there, which has been ported. Just makes it a lot torquier, and there is, I think it was about another 15 to 20% power increase over the last kit.
On with the modified cylinder head, revised supercharger, larger injectors, fuel rail, intercooler and airbox, new unrestricted exhaust with JCW chrome tips, and a nice set of 18s.
Time to turn her over, eh? Time to take her out in the road and give it a run.
We put the 05 JCW through its paces at our Calder Park test, and straight out of the box the car handled and performed well. Mike Sinclair, editor of Unique Cars magazine, found that the Mini had plenty of power, with the new tyres on the 18 spinning up all too often.
There's definitely a lot more torque there, and I think even with the 18-inch wheels, maybe I've put fairly high pressures in the front of this for the circuits, so maybe we drop the pressure down a bit, we get a bit more traction too.
For our comparison, Andrew Jackson and Terry Slocum brought along their 02 model Aussie Cozzy JCWs. Andrew's British Racing Green Mini was kitted with full white line suspension, racing 18s and semi-slicks, while Terry's few mods gave us the previous generation's kit to more easily compare. Here's how the Minis stack up. With superchargers screaming away in all cars, the semi-slicks and white line suspension really helped the Aussie Cozzy car get off the line and hold the 05 at bay. Little did they realise that we had a surprise for these new Minis.
No, this car's got such a huge amount of power. Yeah, you've got to be so gentle getting the power on, otherwise it just wants to smoke the tyres.
Norman Gower's 1964 model Morris 850 is a very special car. A beautifully turned out club racer, Norman has something a little unexpected under the hood. Norman slotted in a Honda B16A double overhead cam VTEC.
We had a few different criteria. One was it had to be light, so we were preferring an all-aluminium engine. The second one was that the gearbox had to be in line with the crankshaft.
Not as difficult a conversion as you might expect, Norman did most of the work himself, adding all sorts of trick little mods to gain speed.
We have 160 or so horsepower in a car that only weighs 600 kilos, so it's very light.
Engine modifications are limited to custom extractors, Bosch ignition system, Wolf 3D engine management system, and a very cool Ram air system enclosed in a Perspex box to avoid engine heat.
Mini fundamentals have always been good. That's why they've always been a favourite with race car drivers. They handle well, the suspension is pretty good right out from the beginning.
Suspension and braking include motorcycle coilovers and brakes in the rear and Chimera discs with Commodore calipers in the front. Checking the specs of the VTEC Mini, you can see that the numbers really work.
I love the new BMW Minis. I think they've captured all the hallmarks of what makes a Mini. All the key features are there. It's cute, it's aggressive at the same time, it's a performance-orientated car right out of the box. It handles wonderfully. To me, I'd love one.
He may love the new Mini, but Norman's VTEC Mini was very fond of absolutely smoking the new one at Calder. Although when pro drivers Warren Luff and Paul Dumbrell got in, the battle was on. Swapping drivers, we put Warren into the VTEC, but he seemed to think it was an auto. Luckily, we had Norman to help out with a few pointers.
Now listen, this is the gear stick. It's for changing gears.
I know, but I didn't have any throttle on though. I was like, oh, nice.
I was waiting to catch the pistons as they came out the roof. Yeah.
It's just a good engine, and obviously in this package, and with the light and flywheel, it just wants to rev so quickly. It sounds really impressive.
Old or new, these cars are a hell of a lot of fun to drive, and a different approach for import fans. The VTEC is a cheap way to get into serious performance easily, and yes, street legal is no problem. There's no doubting that BMW are on the right track with factory tuning gear, and we're all for it. But Norman Gowers has shown us how much fun you can have with change from 15 grand.